Hey violins, this is a rundown of the Violin 1 part for Blue and Gold by Lee Ewing. This piece is a I think is a great piece, for especially for beginning string students. And one of the biggest challenges you'll find is not actually the notes themselves, the left-hand notes, because the majority of the notes are actually on the D string with a few open G string notes. The challenge of this piece is really getting the dynamic contrast throughout the entire thing, making sure that we have crescendos where we get louder, gradually getting louder, decrescendos, gradually getting softer, and making a huge contrast between something like mezzo forte, which is our beginning dynamic, as well as mezzo piano, which is going to be really 2 to 3 times softer in volume than mezzo forte, and then our forte dynamic, our biggest one at measure 29. There's a lot of bow control that actually goes on. One of the biggest things to remember that I want to do for this piece when I'm playing is actually staying in my bow lanes. So if I'm about here, I'm looking at the camera, there we are. If I'm about there halfway in between the end of the fingerboard and the bridge, that's going to be, we'll call that lane 3, and that's going to be the majority of where I'm bowing this piece. As I get to a mezzo piano, I'm going to get closer to the end of the fingerboard to really get a softer, more delicate kind of tone. It's a little more velvety, and it doesn't project as much, but it characteristically still needs to speak as clearly as the mezzo forte. So I'm going to keep the same bow speed and bow weight. I'm just going to simply move my bow to a different spot. As I want to get to that forte, I'm going to push closer to the bridge. We'll call this lane 4, not on top lane 5, but really getting close up there, lane 4. This, when I keep the same bow speed and maybe add just a little bit of bow weight, that's going to give me that extra kick to really bring that forte out, so it really is just much stronger than our mezzo forte volume. So as you're practicing that piece, it may be great to actually take out different measures and practice them with a different bow location in front of a mirror to make sure that you're really lining up in those contact points or those lanes, those calling them, where you want to be. Then start put the whole piece together. So here's Blue and Gold. I'm going to run it at 100 beats per minute with my metronome. As you're practicing, if you're not ready to take it there yet, take it at your best tempo and then build your way up to something like 100 or even 110. So here is Blue and Gold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. That is that piece, and I know for myself, I really want to be very dramatic with the dynamic contrasts, and so as I'm practicing this piece, and as I hope you do too, push yourself to really play as soft and as beautiful as possible in those piano dynamics, as well as really making a large contrast when you jump to mezzo forte and even forte. One thing I did not address in the beginning of this was actually your hand shape. Because you're really just doing notes on the D string as well as an open G. You're holding this hand shape for this key. We're in the key of D major, 2 sharps. And since we're on the D string, we're going to be playing open D, first finger E, second finger F sharp with pushed away from that whole step between E and F sharp, third finger G because our half step is in between these two fingers. And I actually choose to go fourth finger A rather than open A. And so that's something that, depending on your director or whatever it is they want to do, I prefer to get that fourth finger sound just to get really a more consistent sound across the whole orchestra that way. But you can certainly do what's best for you and your class. As always, happy practicing and good luck.